Hi there, business owners, directors, and marketeers. In today's show, I am with Mary Thomas from Concise Training. I'm Lucas, like always, your host. And today I want to talk with Mary because she comes from a very interesting background. She comes from the background of social media and digital marketing. So she might have sort of a head start into our conversation in comparison to many of you guys who are in very traditional fields in the training area. So I think there is a lot to learn from Mary today. So Mary, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Lucas. And sorry, my dog might decide to get involved in this as well.
That's fine. We're having two guests here. As long as he can contribute valuable information, he's very welcome.
I'm sure she'll do her best.
Perfect. Great. So tell us about Concise Training. Tell us about the company. What is it all about?
Okay, so we have two brands. We have Concise Training, which we'll talk about today, but we also have Concise Digital, which run alongside. Under the Concise Training brand, we offer social media and digital marketing training and have a range of delivery options. We run face-to-face small group public workshops in Oxfordshire, in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, MailChimp, and a general strategy. I go to client sites or use webinar technology to deliver bespoke training to groups or individuals. We have a range of CPD accredited e-learning courses in each of the various digital marketing channels, so people can learn how to use one of the channels. For example, our 17-hour Facebook course will teach everything about Facebook, from what is Facebook all the way through to using Ads Manager, and those courses are updated every 6 months. And finally, we deliver distance learning City and Guilds qualifications. I created the units and criteria for City and Guilds for those qualifications, which are fully supported, comprehensive, practical qualifications to learn skills that can then be immediately implemented in a business.
I see. So a very deep focus on the sort of digital
Absolutely.
Marketing. Very good.
Yeah, and then alongside that, our Concise Digital brand is a marketing agency, so we practice what we preach. So it allows us to work with businesses really flexibly on both the training and management basis. So we can offer the flexible solutions, and we might start off managing and then we train their staff and then they take over. And that's great. That's cool.
Very good. So who would be the people that would benefit most from your training? Because obviously the skills that you're teaching becoming more and more relevant by the day, basically. What type of people would you be seeing most in your classes?
So it really depends on the options. So the workshops they're attended by people pretty much new to social media, beginners. They're often sole traders, want to get the basics to get started, just so they can get a presence out there. The clients, bespoke training could be professional services firms, often using LinkedIn, need to know how to do it better.
Yep.
Or small, medium firms across industries in Oxfordshire for the bespoke training. E-learning courses are suitable for sole traders, marketing assistants, marketing managers who want to understand in detail how to use the channels, but perhaps haven't the time to attend formal training, can't and don't want the cost of bespoke training. And the City and Guilds qualifications are suitable for people who want to stand out in the social media and digital marketing industry. Perhaps they want to move into a new job role, or perhaps they want to set themselves up as a freelance consultant. So one of our recent learners told me that having finished the course, she was resigning from her job at the end of the month to set up as a freelancer so she could work flexible hours around her children, and she already had 3 clients.
Really good, really good. Okay, so that means really people from even individuals up to actual full teams that could join your training staff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so what can they expect when they're coming? You already alluded a little bit to this, but maybe you could sort of summarize. If I'm as a freelancer, for example, starting out in the industry, what can I expect to be taking away from the courses?
We like to think we're extremely knowledgeable. We update our courses every 6 months. It's something I sometimes regret, because it does take a long time to do, but it's very important to us that we're giving up-to-date information. And I keep myself updated with all the latest changes every day. It could take me sort of 2 hours a day to do that. We offer a very personal, flexible approach to the training. So we are a small company, so we'll have limited numbers of learners, but we offer them a real personal approach. So it could be, we talked to them about the qualification, which is fine. We could talk about how they're implementing social and digital in their business.
Yeah.
But I've often been known to write references for people, to help with job applications, to offer business coaching. And it's really that personal supported practical approach. This is actually how you do it that they'll learn.
Okay, very interesting. So we've seen you're really taking the time to upgrade the content all the time. That's something that I'm not hearing too often in the interviews. So very, very interesting, especially since you're in the field, which is, by the day updating itself with, new platforms, new possibilities within the platforms to advertise. Really interesting. So what would you say then the other way around? How do you think students usually find your business and sort of end up being part of the Concise, let's say, call it family, and being educated there? What's the way that the user journey that they would walk through in order to, become a client?
Yeah, we use a number of directories, so Hot Courses and Read,
Yeah.
amongst others. We do our own digital advertising campaigns. We do a lot of lead generation campaigns.
Yeah.
We get a lot of word of mouth as well as Google search. So
Yeah.
again, it really depends on the service.
Okay, it's a channel mix of those platforms. You mentioned Hot Courses, right? And then really those individual challenges where you're obviously having a head start in comparison to many other businesses, since you're updating yourself on a daily basis. Okay, so then which role would you say does technology play within your own business to run it smoothly?
Yeah, so technology is key to our business. I am from a technical background. That's where I started out. I used to be a programmer many years ago. So I like and use technology. We run a home-based business model. So I work at home and my staff and associates are all based around the country in their homes. So technology is absolutely essential to keep us all on track. So we use a range of technology. We obviously use Skype and Zoom. We use Dropbox and Paper. We use Trello, we use Zapier, we use AnyMeeting for our webinars, we use MailChimp, Nimble, and we're always looking for the newest technology. We're not saying the newest technology, but new technology to help us streamline our systems and processes so that we automate as much as possible whilst keeping within our ethics or our needs to be personal and give that personal approach.
Okay, that sounds really advanced, using all those tools. And I mean, given back to your background that you're having there, do you really sort of create even specific goals for certain online metrics that you would be potentially using to guide your business? We've seen companies looking at obviously the traffic that it generates, looking at the conversion rate. What would be metrics that you would guide your business along?
Yeah, we do the similar. I mean, we look at reach and impressions that we're getting across the channels. We look at the leads we're getting through, how much we're converting them. We're looking at different ways of making that conversion better. And yeah, so we look at all those metrics.
Got you. So from what you're saying, I'm assuming the website plays an important role as a sort of landing place for all of those different channels. Is that correct?
So one of the things we're experimenting with at the moment is we're actually running lead generation campaigns on Facebook.
Yep.
So rather than sending them to our website, we're actually using a more personal approach. So we're getting their names, we're getting their postal addresses. Actually, at the moment, we're running a campaign at the moment where we're getting their postal addresses, and then we're actually going back to old-fashioned direct mail, where we're actually sending out a personalized handwritten letter to individuals. Take a step back. Facebook ad, lead generation, they get an email with a brochure. It then gets followed up with a handwritten letter with a leaflet, following that up with a newsletter and a phone call. So our website is key. It's not the only way, the only thing we're doing. It's more, it's trying to do something a bit different from other people.
Okay, so very you'd say unique process, using some elements sort of, even from back in the days, use it back to the paper, which, is interesting because it might be less cluttered than the inbox today. And what would you say then, still the website, does it still play a role in your marketing mix?
Absolutely, yes. So all our reviews on our website, We do send people to our website. People order through the website, so it's absolutely crucial. But it's not the be all and end all. We're using other things to complement it.
Makes sense. Maybe you have some experience, because what we've been seeing talking to a lot of the course providers and marketeers in the industry, specifically even through these types of interviews, is we've been seeing very often there is the same challenge, which is a conversion rate that can be far below 2% even. Have you been coming across that challenge? Have you been tackling the challenge? Maybe you have some tips and tricks for people to, challenge the fact that they might get visits to the to the website, but converting usually less than 2%, maybe around 1.5%.
We do have issues with that, and we find particularly in our qualifications that our lead time is very long.
Yeah.
So it's getting people to the website where they're signing up for more information, perhaps, so they're downloading a brochure, and then keeping in touch with those people through newsletters. We can have a lead time of 2 years with somebody who inquired about the brochure, but they don't actually sign up for another 2 years. So it's a matter of keeping in touch with them using other methods of advertising.
Have you investigated it further? Because it's interesting. That's something that hasn't been coming up so far, that there's actually that long lead time. Do you see particular reasons for that?
The qualifications are an investment of time and money. We recommend people spend 10 hours a week on the courses. And so people are interested in them, but perhaps either don't have the time or don't have the money in that particular, or just don't have the time or the money at that particular time in their lives, want to do it, but then come back to us. I think people, perhaps less so now, but people still didn't think social media and digital marketing was going to take off as a career. And there was that uncertainty: is it worth investing? Yeah. So people need to come on to learning when it's right for them. Yeah. And that's what we found.
That makes total sense. So how would you describe, or what's your vision for where the training industry is going, sort of maybe within the next year, maybe 2, maybe even 5 years, in terms of the usage of technology? Because we've seen in the conversations, companies are at very different stages, right? You seem to be really on spot there with trying different channels, different processes across the different channels. Where do you see the industry, and maybe even yourself, your own company, going within the next couple of years in regards to your online strategy?
It's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because online learning, it's been at the cusp of being what everybody wants for the last 15 years. I mean, we've been doing these courses. We published our first e-learning courses in 2013, so that's 6 years ago now. Yeah. And we always thought that this is the way learning is going to go, but I still get people saying they prefer face-to-face. They prefer face-to-face. Yeah. So I started out in 2009 as a green company. That's where I was going with it. You could do all this learning from webinars, and it's all green, and that didn't really take off. So where is it going to be in another couple of years' time? I think there will be more online, and there's certainly more businesses talking to me about making their resources online. I think there's a lot of education around the consumers understanding that it's not the old CBT that perhaps I grew up with. It is interactive. It can be as good, if not better, than face-to-face. Yep. And it is definitely more cost-effective than face-to-face. Yeah. But people
I'm also very curious, because you're using let's say, in comparison, right, to a lot of other providers out there, you're using very advanced techniques. You mentioned the lead generation, followed up by a letter, followed up by a call. Do you think also in that regard, companies have to sort of level up to, be bulletproof in the future?
Yeah, and you have to be able to offer that personalized approach. It's something that I think learners are going to require more. It's all about that confidence. It's all about making sure it is up to date and making sure that you do treat every individual as a person. Yeah. I think that's going to be really important.
Really good. Okay, so I want to leave the online strategy sort of a little bit beside, and maybe with the last 2-3 questions, learn about yourself and your experience. What I would be curious about is, what advice would you give yourself if you would restart your business today? Because obviously there's also listeners who are just getting started, or maybe in the first or second year of running their business. What would you What would you tell yourself if you would restart a business today?
I think the obvious one, and I suspect this applies to every business, is to put systems in place
Hmm.
quicker
Hmm.
and document those systems. And yes, be prepared to change, but do put the systems in place in a more structured way. I think one of the things that we've been very successful in doing as a business is being very flexible and changing as things have changed and creating more courses as we've needed to, which I think has been a good thing to do. So I'd stick with that. I think diversifying has been good for us, which we didn't do at the beginning. We were very much a training company at the beginning, and we now offer both training and agency, and I think that's been beneficial. What we found, and the reason we did it is because we were training people, they were being successful, they were growing, and then they were going somewhere else to outsource, which was completely ridiculous. So offering that whole wraparound has been good.
So it's really those businesses feeding each other correctly.
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very good. Very good. That's really also something, an angle that probably not too many people are taking on, to really combine those forces there. Very good.
No, it's a bit unusual.
Yeah, but it seems to be very interesting. So maybe tell us one thing before we're heading to the end of this interview. Tell us one thing that everyone should remember about Concise Training.
So we offer a personal, supported, flexible approach to helping you and your business learn how to use social media and digital marketing.
Very good. That was very crisp and clear. I like it. So everyone that is interested now, what would be the best way to get hold of you or to get started?
Okay, so the website's www.concisetraining.net, and my email address is mary@concisetraining.net.
There you go. Very good. So guys, there you have it. A lot of interesting insights and unique angles actually from somebody who comes with a lot of background in the digital marketing arena, and actually was successful enough to actually combine those two elements, the training course and the marketing agency on the other hand. Really, really interesting approach. So Mary, thanks a lot for taking the time today. And
No worries.
This was it for today's episode.
And of course, I should say that my Twitter handle, my social media handles are Concise Training.
Very good. I should have specifically asked you for that. There you have it, guys. Check Mary out on Twitter. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.